people say.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And we're so happy to have this team from the Mason Life program with us today. So let me introduce you to Linn Jorgensen. She's the director of the Mason Life program. And we are so happy to have Noah Miller and Elliot Metz with us today. They are alumni of the program and now are staff there. Um, so thank you so much for being here. To the families that are listening, just a reminder, you all are on mute. So please type your questions either into the chat box or to the Q&A. Either is fine, and we'll be able to get to those questions. And then today's recording, as well as the slides from today, will be posted on our transition series Padlet. So you'll be able to see those later this afternoon. So with that, I'll let you get started. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Diane. We really appreciate being here today. We're excited to talk with families and anyone who happens to be interested in the Mason Life program. Life stands for Mason Learning into Future Environments. So this is our team. I'm the director, again, as Diane had already said. Herman Mitchell is our assistant director. Dr. Sasha Reed works with our our academic component. And we have Elliot, who is a grad. What year, Elliot, did you?
2021.
And Noah.
2022.
And and Miss Atkins is off on my right, who coordinates all of our office manager duties. And we are excited to be presenting. Elliot and Noah, as Diane said, both graduated with the program, but we hired both of them back to work with us. And part of those responsibilities are things like today. So Thank you for having us. All right.
Or what is the Mason Life program? The Mason Life program is a 4-year inclusive post-secondary non-degree certificate program educating students with intellectual and development disabilities. Opportunity for support staff to gain practical experience learning from and working with individuals with disabilities.
Okay, so currently that picture that everyone is looking at is our current first year cohort. We have 59 students in the program, and our students are in state and out of state, and those states there are listed. I think what's very important to note is you can see that there was a bit of a dip in the fourth year graduating students this year to 8. But that had a lot to do with COVID and different sort of situations around that. Typically, our class recruits between 15 and 20 students per academic year. So those are great individuals in our cohort this year. Right.
Okay. The Mason Life program strives to be a model post-secondary education program that focuses on research, academic progress, campus integration, employment opportunities, and the development of independent living and social skills. The goal of the program is not to duplicate the K through 12 experience, but rather assist the students in becoming independent and advocating for themselves on their own. As a certificate program, we are mirror to the degree-seeking student experience. Do you want to learn in the classroom? Do you want to make friends and try new activities that you have not tried before? Are you interested in working? Can you stay on your own for up to 4 hours? Can you take care of yourself? Examples are hygiene, simple cooking, chores around the house. Do you know where and how to ask, or do you know when and how to ask for help when needed? And can you handle your emotions if things don't go well? These are all things that you will need to know and need to have in order to be ready for college?
Noah? So for families, so those were questions that if any student is potentially sitting in the audience or listening to this as a recording later to think about, those are very important questions that we came up with that we felt were good to think about as you get closer to potentially applying. But for families, we also have a set of questions because it really is a team dynamic to come to higher education. So as family members, maybe thinking about, first of all, is your son or daughter wanting to pursue academics and learning. Sometimes we have students or mostly students who might have an interest in college, but maybe aren't so much into that academic piece. And that's obviously why we all come. So that would be needing to be there. Students are interfacing with everything that any degree seeking student is experiencing on campus, and that's activities, clubs, wonderful things happen at any college campus and specifically at Mason, but there are also things we don't always love. There's protests and there's different sorts of very controversial issues that occur on a campus. And because our students are out and about and participating holistically all across the campus, whether we like that or not, they are exposed to everything that occurs. So that's just something to think about. Students are not supervised 24 hours, 7 days a week. So you have to be okay with your son or daughter wanting to or knowing that they'll be on their own for a portion of the time here. And while we have a lot of support staff available to students actually at all times, there might be a period of time where students are on their own. So that's a little bit of something to consider. We value student input or student and family input, and we talk with families routinely. That's a big part of my job and a part of our staff's job. But the communication may feel a little bit differently in higher ed because of FERPA, and that we follow FERPA law, which states you really need the permission of the student to talk to anyone related to them. So, we don't just pick up the phone and call a parent if someone missed a class or if we're dealing with something on a pretty low level. We really try very hard to work directly with the student. And often we have the student then communicate with the family on what's going on. However, there are times when we don't seek the permission of a student, and that is usually if a policy, whether it's Title IX or if there's police involved or if there's any student conduct issues. We have written a policy that says if we're seeing some significant issues that arise to those other offices, we would definitely include the family members in that, of course, along with the student, but that we find important. We have our policies are all on the website, but it just allows us, like if there's a significant change in behavior or if there's a funding issue, something that's really gonna sort of put the student back, we definitely reach out to families, and we have come up with wonderful strategies together, and that really is our goal. But we also want students to learn, to gain their autonomy and kind of become their own person here. And if we routinely get back with family on all the things that are going on, that probably is less likely to happen. The other big thing is to consider that students aren't in class from 9 to 5, kind of thinking of some of our own college schedules. No one really wants classes that entire time, but they're filled with different types of things to do. So yes, there are many classes and their students are in academics, but there's employment and there's community involvement and campus activities. And so a typical schedule is not going to look maybe like the K through 12 system does. And then our students are responsible for adhering to all the university policies and procedures. And we have written some program expectations that we expect of our students. And that's important, as well as we have in the past been asked to make sure that we implement people's different therapies, OT, PT, speech and language, those sorts of things. Unfortunately, the scheduling of all of the classes and the work sites and those sorts of things take priority over the other sorts of needs. And so if someone needed to speak, let's say, to a therapist or something, it's not a problem, but we don't set it up or have space to conduct that or work around those schedules just because the primary focus is the program. So that's just something that we think is important to think about. Okay, Elliot, read this.
Mason Life has 4 components to the program. The first is academics and includes the following. Foundational academics. These classes are for Mason Life students only. For example, independent living, literature, budgeting, and human sexuality. Exploration courses. These are all university courses that are for everyone on campus. For example, sport management and popular music in America. The second component is employment. Students may work on and or off-campus internships with both paid and unpaid opportunities. The third component is housing. Students may choose to live on campus in the dorms or commute to campus daily. If a student would like to live on campus, they will be assessed for readiness by administration. The fourth component is community involvement. Students are encouraged and required to join clubs, attend university events, and get involved in campus life.
Okay, so thank you, Elliot.
You're welcome.
So foundational academics are just that. They are basic introduction level courses. They are taught within Mason Life and they are taken only by Mason Life students. The people that teach our foundational courses are typically undergraduate or graduate students who are in the field of special education or disability. So they are degree seeking students that are teaching those courses. And we do have a few requirements for the foundational courses, which is 1 semester of core classes, which include literature, math, writing, human sexuality, and relationship fundamentals. And that's actually 2 semesters. Banking, self-regulation, and independent living skills. Again, those are inclusive to just the Mason Life students. And you can see our students learning in various ways here in this picture. So up here to the left, we have an independent living skills class that students take and practice recipes and then use those recipes when they're back in the dorm. So they're cooking and things like that. And we've got people gathering in different capacities in the classroom. So those are all like internal to our Mason Life program. The exploration courses, this is where students are able to choose and select classes that all Patriots take. So those are the degree seeking students who are in those classes. So they're immersed in all 8 colleges on campus. And while students are earning a certificate of completion, they don't earn college credit, but they do earn a comprehensive concentration. So Noah, what was your concentration?
Special education.
Okay, and Elliot?
My concentration is communication and sport,
Yeah.
part of leisure studies.
So whatever people are interested in, they are able to take those courses and then they build a comprehensive concentration. It takes 5 of those exploration courses. Some students take 1 per semester, some students take 2. And then all of those classes are modified to meet the students where they are. So we send a support staff with the student to class. They assist with note taking and group work and modifying curriculum, but also they have a block on their schedule that is called a support class, and that is where they meet with the support and talk through and work on those assignments, projects, exams, and that kind of thing. So that's so we have foundational and we have exploration, and those 2 different areas make up our academic component. And as you can see here, we've got people presenting in a lecture-based class. This young man here is a student who had a field exploration activity in his early childhood class and had to go out to a childhood center and do an activity there. We have, get my camera out of the way. We've got someone in a art class. The student here is in a photography class, so she's out and about doing fun things. And you can see students studying and using the computer and presenting. So that gives you a little bit of an idea. I think our last count was about 80 different classes that students have taken at Mason. And it really does depend on students' interest, their ability, where they are with their knowledge, and a good match between the faculty that teach the courses. We do have to seek permission in order to place a student into a faculty member's course. So it's not where we can just sort of, say we're going to take these 3 classes. We have to do a lot of back and forth and coordination to explain the program and how that all works. So there are times if, a student may want to take a certain course and the faculty, either the class is full, the faculty isn't sure about the situation. So we go back to look at other options. So as we're doing academic advising, we ask students to pick a few different interests so that we can find a class that interests them and the one that's available to them. So, all right. All right, Noah?
Employment supports individuals
Whoopsie.
with diverse
You got it.
abilities in learning a job's specific task, responsibilities, and social behaviors appropriate for the work environment. Support the employment sites in developing a relationship with the new colleagues and learning how the individual learns/works the best. Student works on and off campus, paid and unpaid. Students will take an employment skills seminar each year in addition to work sites or internships. Students work towards the development of a professional portfolio. Then we got a student at the greenhouse, which is where you can basically grow plants. We got someone at the UPS store. We got someone at the dining hall. Looks like a library over there. Got someone at a basketball game. Management, photography, and then some office, it looks like.
Great.
Hmm.
Thank you, Noah.
Yeah.
So these are a little bit, sometimes we're asked a little bit to talk about where have our students gone after being in the program, and that's a very fair question. Are they working? Well, Mason Life doesn't necessarily link a student to a job afterwards. Students have to interview for jobs like any other person. We are finding, and this is all good news, that 84% of our alumni are employed, 73% work independently. So our model, one thing that we didn't talk about is our model is that we send a support staff with the student to the work site. But we have a very robust fading out that support model because we know adult services typically would not ongoing provide one-on-one assistance for our students. So we work very much with adult services to figure out, what does this look like for the future of a student? And it has really been to scale back that level of support. So once a student has become independent, then we do a few checks and balances before we make that decision. But then we are able to pull back that support. And the data kind of shows that 73% of our students work independently, which is fantastic. While we don't have a component that addresses public transportation, we do encourage our students when they're working off-site to use public transportation. So we have students at Capitol Hill as an internship. You worked there, right, Elliot?
Yeah, we're at Capitol Hill.
Okay. Did you know ever?
No.
Okay. So getting to Capitol Hill requires, getting on the metro and getting up there. And so obviously transportation there, but the Q bus or local bus systems, we teach and that's part of getting to work. So we can see that about half of our students are using that. When our alumni were asked about how they felt the Mason Life program helped prepare them for work, on a scale of 1 being not helpful, 5 being the best, we landed in a 4, which is a good place for us to be. So we're seeing that our students, and we need to actually add to this slide, we have far more places where students are currently working. So, okay, so housing. Students are going to develop daily living skills related to personal care, overall safety, meal preparation, household management, and budgeting. Students are responsible for planning, inventorying what they have in the kitchen, and taking a week's worth of meal planning and shopping for that with that plan. Students have dinner together once a week. So they do a meal, a shared meal. So they plan that out and cook together and enjoy that. And students are expected to cook on the stove and oven once a week. We're fine other nights with going out or, making a sandwich or popping something in the microwave, but we do want students to experience good recipes, and that's where that independent living class comes in. They actually use those recipes there. As we said before, being on their own. So there are times when the housing is a 4-person suite, 4 private bedrooms, shared kitchen and living space. And one of the support staff live in the suite with the students, and they too, again, are patriots earning a degree. But there are times when the support staff, there's day support that comes in from 4 to 9, and then the overnight from 9 till the morning. However, there are gaps in times when neither of them are in the dorms. So that's where we really ask for readiness from the student and families to understand that that may be happening. Additionally, there might be a situation where a staff person gets ill, they have to go home. We would inform the families that the students are going to be checked in on by our day support, but that maybe someone wouldn't be sleeping overnight. Rare to happen, but it does. We talked a little bit about independent living classes. And we do provide team building for each suite. It is, as we all know, living with people is fun, but it can also be difficult. And our mental health liaison coordinates team building with each suite to kind of talk through how things are going, what's going well, and if there's any issues that need to be kind of worked out, they can sort of negotiate that, write some contracts with one another to be sure everyone's on the same page. Typically, we have 30 students who live on campus and then supported by a support staff in each one of those suites. Okay. So here's some fun pictures. So we've got people cooking. You guys remember this? Cooking and cleaning. And here we have Madison down here doing her laundry.
Sure.
We've got people, this was at the preamble when students first come to campus, hanging out in the courtyard with, is that Jenga? A large Jenga?
Might be, yeah.
Yeah. And then Jesse's chilling. But that's the housing. All right. And then we have community involvement. And one thing I think we may have been remiss to say is that NOAA is actually, so we have different levels of staffing. We have support staff who go in and take care of a shift. For example, for community involvement, they may go to a club with the students. They may go to various events, but then we have a senior liaison, senior support staff, and Noah is a senior support staff, so he has more responsibilities. He's responsible for helping with planning, or if there's issues or
Yes.
people aren't getting involved, to reach out to them. So that's part of his role. And then we have a liaison, which is actually a one tier up from where Noah is, who has complete oversight of the program. So that is, I forgot to say that was your role. So you're going to take community development?
So students are required to participate in the on and off campus opportunities, including student organizations, intramural sports clubs, and university-wide events. Community involvement promotes the social engagement of Mason Life students with the program and the greater Mason community by matching individual students to their self-selected social activities. Students are expected to participate in at least one activity per week and join at least one new on-campus organization. There are more than 400 Mason student organizations to choose from. We got over there, we got the Caps game. And then we got, I think that's the hub right over with the Patriot. We got some basketball game or something at Eagle Bank. We got a karaoke night. We got, looks like a dinner over there at the table. Oh no, Uno game. Then we got people out to vote, which is a big thing we like to do. Encourage people to go out there and vote for who you think's gonna be the good candidate. And then this is the last one looks like some type of preamble event to make sure to get like everyone excited.
When you first come to campus. Right?
Yes.
Thank you, Noah.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So I think what is important to talk a little bit about is I think there is a great shift and a big transition between K through 12 and higher ed. I was a K through 12 special ed teacher, and now I'm in the higher ed arena working with students in the same demographic. And I think there's just a few adjustments, and I think it absolutely makes sense. And it, by the even second semester, it doesn't feel so different. But I think there are things to note. So, in high school, there is a case manager, one person to go to, and right, guys, in college, you guys go
Yeah.
to whoever your sports staff
Yes.
was, right? So, in the K through 12, parents and families sometimes give a quick call in to check in on something. And we will say, we appreciate that information, but then we'll meet with the student and they will actually get back to you through a text or an email to give you an answer to what you might be concerned at. Because what we don't want is for people not to feel we can't connect. It's just a little bit of a different process in doing that. So all of the extra reminders, I think you still get those reminders in foundational courses, but maybe not in the exploration courses. And it's super important that you're writing things down and keeping track because there's no case manager to call to follow up with progress or lack of progress. Students here in college get midterm grades just like all patriots do. They get final grades. And then we don't have IEP meetings, but we do have person-centered planning meetings where students will gather information on their strengths and their areas of need, and then present a PowerPoint on that. And then we will get together on Zoom with the families or anyone the student wants to have there and discuss the strengths, the needs, and sort of goals moving forward. So that's a little different. We already talked about the schedule being a little bit different. And remember that other than crisis, we can always take information in, but it's a little bit of a different route to get the information back. We always, at the end of 4 years, we always hear families say, I cannot believe the student who first came to the program versus the student who is leaving the program. And we really do believe it is through having students learn how to make mistakes and recover from them and move forward. We always say failing forward is okay, as long as we learn from it and make those changes. So those are just a few little pieces of information that we think are valuable to tell. So the cost of the program, it is right here, the in-state, out-of-state tuition is different. The housing fee, that's set, the room fee is set by the university. The support fee is all of the overnight support and day support fees. And so, so that's where that is. Students, we get the question, do students have to live on campus? They do not have to live on campus. Some students, no, Elliot, you lived how many years on campus?
On campus for like 4 years.
4 years. And Noah?
Yeah, same.
Same. Okay, so you guys lived all 4 years, but some students, right, like come maybe their second year or third year, or even their fourth year. There's no requirement to stay in housing, but certainly learn a lot from doing that. So we do know that the program is expensive and we wish we had other ways to handle that. We're building other ways, however. So Mason Life is certified to, it's a CTP, so it's a comprehensive transition program, which is identified by financial aid, saying that a student can use financial aid if they meet those, whatever combination of numbers that they use to determine if someone receives financial aid, it can go towards our program. People are able to set up college saving plans or the Able Now accounts. We have a couple links there. Things change so much that we've started to not say exactly what that means and more give you the resources so you can look yourself. We have 3 full-time 4-year scholarships from past alumni families, which is such an incredible gift to our program. We also have smaller grants available, and some of these grants are, and scholarships are available to brand new students. So that's one good thing. And in order to apply for those scholarships, you do have to fill out a FAFSA in order to be put into the candidate pool to be looked at for those scholarships. So we hope to continue to increase those scholarship opportunities each year. So I think what we're going to do now is, Elliot, can you kind of get in the picture a little bit?
Okay.
Sure. I'll let you guys.
Mhm.
There we go. Okay, so we thought maybe we could end and then we'll answer any questions in the chat. But maybe when you guys first found out that you were accepted into the Mason Life program, can you talk, Noah, a little bit about that?
Yeah. So when I was first accepted, I actually felt like I was like very excited, and I was ready to go to college, and I was a little bit nervous too, especially the first week. But after the first week, I was much better, and I loved it.
Yeah. And what about you, Elliot, when you found out? Do you remember that?
Yeah, when I got accepted into Mason Life program, I was like mixed emotions. And I was like more excited about being ready for college than high school.
Mixed emotions is fair, though. That's
I was
good.
excited too.
Noah, what about a job that you held while you were in?
Most of my jobs were at teaching teaching places. So I actually taught at a couple of schools, which was a lot of fun with young children. And then also helped out at Glory Days, which I didn't expect that I was gonna like, but it turned out that I did like it. And I learned a lot of new skills that I didn't know before, which is always good.
What school? Do you remember one of the schools you're at?
I was working at Arlington Head Start. That was one of them. The CDC, I think, was one of them.
On campus?
Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, that's all I remember.
Okay. And Elliot, where did you work while you were here? What were your jobs
One of my jobs for working at Mason Life is that
when you were a student?
as one of the jobs that I work as a Mason. One of the jobs that I worked when I was a Mason Life student is that I worked at Capitol Hill. And for junior year, I worked at Vienna Pet Spa. But now, since I graduated from college, I now work at the Fresh Market in Vienna.
And for Mason Life, right? You have two jobs?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Work out up here.
Mm-hmm.
So what about you guys, and you can both talk, you can scooch in a little bit,
Uh-huh.
Elliot. What about friendships? How did you guys get involved? Like, how did that?
Well, I got involved by going to a lot of different social events on campus. That's really how I got to meet all my friends.
What about you, Elliot? When did you get involved? How did you get involved?
Well, I got into being involved into some friendships like Jayoon, Kachi, Teddy, Kyler, Zach, as well as Noah and other students.
What'd you guys do together? Kinds of things did you do?
Well, we go like do community involvement activities, like we go to bowling on Fridays, and we do mall trips, and we also go to we do workout in the AFC, the Rack, and the Skyline, and we also did Pie Club. That's an organization club that students can play basketball. And also, we also go to basketball games.
You guys always went to
Yeah.
those. Okay. What about a favorite exploration class that you took, maybe?
Probably my teaching in the diverse setting, that was pretty cool.
Education course?
Yeah, I got to learn how to teach, students with diverse and intellectual disabilities, which was very cool to learn.
Thanks. Elliot, an exploration course that you enjoyed?
Yeah, an exploration course that I enjoyed the most is that I first took the first exploration class is one of the first ones that it was sport management when I was a freshman into the spring 2018 semester. And also for my also for my sophomore year, I took my first sport classes like the importance of sport, culture, and society. And for my junior year, during fall 2019 semester, I did take like jazz and blues in America. That was the most it tells that how jazz music and blues music is founded in the United States. For example, like Cal Basie, Duke Ellington, and as well as Miles Davis, Thelonious Monk, and many other jazz artists. And for my senior year, for my spring 2021 semester, the fun class I took is popular music in America. It tells like how popular music was made, like anywhere like the United States, United Kingdom, like London, for example, and many other places.
Thank you, Elliot.
So you go.
Were you guys homesick?
Little bit at first I was, but I got over it by going to different activities and meeting friends. That's how I basically got over it.
What about you, Elliot? Were you homesick at all?
Well, no, I did not become homesick at all because I become healthy.
Okay. Um, okay, and what high school did you come from, Noah?
I went to Catherine Thomas in Rockville, Maryland.
Okay, and Elliot?
I did take. I did go to the Auburn school. That was first in Herndon and later in Chantilly.
Great, guys. Okay. Is there anything you would want to tell families or students who are thinking about maybe Mason Life to think about?
Yeah, so I would just encourage your son or daughter to go out there and explore the campus, meet new people, just tour the campus, get familiar with it. It's a lot of fun.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Any advice from you, Elliot? To new people who are thinking about coming?
Yeah, well, newcomers like Gabe Kenosis. He's great at music. He should take pop music in America.
Take a good class. All right, I am going to, is that our last slide? Questions or comments? Okay,
Yes.
let me stop sharing that.
We have a couple.
Couple questions, okay. Do you wanna read that question?
So it says, do you know if any kids with Down syndrome got accepted into this program? Yes, there's a few.
Over the years, so our program accepts individuals with intellectual disabilities and developmental disabilities. We certainly have several students
Yes.
with Down syndrome. We have students with autism and other sorts of developmental disabilities. So absolutely. It's a great question. Are there any other questions? I know that you all are muted, so if we don't see it in the chat, I believe there maybe are not any other questions, but Diane, that's really what we have prepared.
Thank you all so much. And Elliot and Noah, you did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
You did too, Lynn. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you for having
Oh, we got
us.
another question.
Oh,
Oh, there is another question.
Yes.
How high functioning do they have to be? Verbal, nonverbal? Okay. So what we do is, we don't, okay, so to be very clear, we don't have a guideline on how necessarily high functioning or verbal. We've had a range of individuals come and succeed in our program. What we do more though is we do require a psychoeducational evaluation when students come to us so we can see sort of the adaptive piece. That's really important to us. An IQ is not necessarily as important to us as how someone functions. And but we've had students who are more verbal than other students, and that is absolutely fine. So we don't have a strong, I know some programs like ours do have that. We do not. We like to kind of look at the person holistically. And also, we take recommendations from people who know the applicant. So we take all of that into consideration. How did they do in school? And I think those requirements, though, especially the one of being able to be on their own on a college campus setting, if you think about your son or daughter being able to be by themselves, that's a good starting point because and I will say it's not important if someone doesn't have that right now. That's why we say that to start kind of chipping away a little bit about with that. If somebody hasn't necessarily done that, to start working on that. But we don't have a strict cutoff, and we do not have a verbal, nonverbal requirement. So that's a very good question, though.
Lynn, there's another question in the chat. Does an applicant need to graduate from a diploma track high school program?
They do not. We have students who have graduated with, applied and I say all different names because we have students from different states, but we have students who actually have graduated with standard diplomas, with applied. The diploma status is not important to us. I do think, though, if a student has graduated like with a standard diploma, you know, things to think about are that you're not earning college credit in the Mason Life program. So, that would need to be shared with the student and family just so you understand that. But no, we absolutely have all different diploma tracks, people applying to our program with different diploma tracks.
Thank you.
Those
That
are
was a
all
good
really good
question.
questions. Yeah. There is, we didn't talk about the age of the applicant. I wonder if we just take a minute to share that. You have to be 24 by the time you begin the program. So that's just something to think about. We have students who come right at 18 and they do very, very well. We have others who kind of stay in school for a bit longer, and then come to us, and that's fine. But we have found any older than 24, it gets a little bit, with the dorms and living with college age people, it gets a little bit not so natural. And so we kind of came up with that threshold of that seems to be the sweet spot. So if you're thinking of staying in high school a couple extra years, that is absolutely very, typical for so many of our students. But also, if you're ready to take that dive into higher ed and apply when you're, done with your typical senior year, we are happy to look at candidates then too. Some of the questions that we often get asked that maybe aren't in the chat that we can just say since we have a few more minutes here. We get asked about how many people apply versus being accepted. Usually we have around 40 applicants and about 17 to 20 get accepted. So about almost half of those get accepted.
Just got another question.
Does guardianship status affect eligibility? So no, guardianship status absolutely does not affect eligibility. What it does do though, however, or I guess what it doesn't do is a better way to say that. We will follow our typical process no matter what the guardianship status is. So if our process, our policies say we work with the student first and then we reach back out to the family with the student, that's what we will follow. We try very hard and we understand different guardianships. And that's absolutely fine. But it doesn't change our process of how we work day in and day out in the program. It's a great question. Are there students that were dropped from the program because it wasn't a good, oof, that's a toughie. That's a really fair question, though. I could probably count on my hand in the years of the program that has happened, but it would be not truthful to say it never. Usually that is after a lot of intervention, a lot of working with therapists.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a mental health issue. Sometimes it could be behavioral issues that a student is breaking the conduct policies to a point where we just, it's unsafe for them to be here. But it has happened, but only on a very rare occasion. But that's a fair question. We have a policy that's called the program expectation policy, and it really outlines the way that we help students sort of, if there is an issue at hand, we have a kind of a way to interact. We talk to students every day about good decisions, about decisions that weren't so good. How do we repair them? How do we bounce back in a healthy way? Our goal is retention, and we want our students to stay in the program, but we do have a program expectation policy that clears that up a little bit.
Lynn, we have two more questions in the Q&A box.
Okay.
One is, can we reapply if we don't get accepted the first time?
Absolutely. We have had students. So when we look at accepting students, what we do is you apply, and it's all on the website. We have a rolling admission, so you can apply. It's better to apply closer to when the student is graduating and wanting to get into the program. But we have a panel reviewers with rubrics that we all score individually, and we look at students' readiness, we read their reports, we look at their recommendations, we look at all of those things, and then our panel decides who is invited to come on to campus. And then the student spends, actually the candidates, we have 3 days of on-campus interviews, and we have an interview with our panel. And then after that, we have students pair up with ambassadors. They go to class with the students, and then they go to lunch with the students, and we talk to parents in that session. It's a pretty intimate setting to see how students do in this academic environment. And then that's part of the decision. And then and everyone's notified one way or another. But we have had people not make it 1 year and then make it the next year. A lot of it's demographics. We want to make sure we have females, male, culturally. We look across the board. We want our students to appear just as our degree-seeking students. So.
And Lynn, there's one last question.
Yeah.
Actually, I guess there's two. Can a student have one-to-one for medical support with him or her?
I think that we would need to have an offline conversation about that. I think that's too hard to give a yes or no without more specifics on that. I mean, we cannot say that we would not do that. I think it would really depend on how much can that student socially get in the program out of what we hope they do, but it's not a no. I think it would take more conversation.
And then there's a question, and we might be able to, is it the only program at GMU for students with disabilities?
So it's not, this is the only program for non-degree seeking students, but because I ran disability services for many years, there's a Mason Autism Support Initiative, which is for degree seeking students.
And they are actually presenting tomorrow. So we also have that workshop. There was another question also in the Q&A, and I can send this information out about other programs like Mason Life in other places.
Yes, there's many. So the good news is there's many. Think College is where you would want to send people to look at. There's probably over 250 programs. Not all of them are comprehensive with housing and all of that. Some of them are starter programs. Some of them are more vocational only. They're different, but it's a great place to look.
And I'll share that link. Think College. I'll share that website on our transition series Padlet, so you have access to it. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you all so
Yep.
much. This was great
You're very welcome.
information.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.